Welcome back, everyone. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been looking at the recovery model for chronic illness and what remission can look like. This week, we're moving into a different but equally important part of the journey: how to navigate the healthcare system with a recovery mindset. For many of us, going to the doctor has been a mixed experience. Sometimes we leave feeling heard and supported. Other times we walk out feeling dismissed or even shamed. When you're managing both a chronic condition and recovery from processed food addiction, those appointments can feel even more complicated. Today, we'll talk about how to prepare for your appointments, how to track and share progress in a way that works for you, and how to identify providers who align with a recovery oriented approach. And most importantly, how to have the conversation about food addiction with your provider. Because here's the thing: your provider can't support what they don't understand. And if they don't know about processed food addiction, you have an opportunity to educate them in a way that protects your dignity, keeps you in the driver's seat, and lays the groundwork for better care. When we approach healthcare with a recovery mindset, we see ourselves as active participants, not passive recipients of care. This doesn't mean ignoring professional advice. It means coming to the table with knowledge, self awareness, and a willingness to collaborate. Why does that matter? Because chronic illness management often requires long term, nuanced changes. And these changes work best when your healthcare provider understands your recovery priorities and supports your goals. A recovery mindset keeps you from feeling powerless in a medical setting. Instead of just hoping the provider gets it, you take an active role in guiding the conversation. That's how you keep your dignity intact and make sure your treatment aligns with the reality of living in recovery. Research on patient provider interactions shows that when a patient feels respected and engaged in decision making, it activates brain regions linked to motivation and problem solving, specifically the prefrontal cortex. Conversely, feeling dismissed can trigger the brain's threat circuitry, especially the amygdala, leading to stress hormone release and making it harder to process new information. A recovery mindset helps keep you in that problem solving, collaborative state rather than dropping into stress reactivity. One of the simplest ways to reduce stress in a medical appointment is to prepare. Before you go, jot down your top priorities. No more than three main points that you want to address. This helps you stay focused, even if the conversation drifts. If you track symptoms, mood patterns, sleep, or lab results, bring a summary. You don't have to hand over a novel, just enough to highlight trends. For example, how you've been feeling overall, notable improvements or setbacks, any patterns you've observed. Framing your data in terms of your recovery goals is powerful. Instead of just saying, my sleep is better, you can say, over the past month, I've been sleeping more consistently, and I notice my energy and mood have been more stable. That gives your provider something concrete to respond to and respect. Coming in prepared helps regulate the brain's default mode network, the system that tends to wander and worry when we're anxious. Having written points to reference keeps your working memory clear, reduces the chance of forgetting key details, and helps maintain executive function during the stress of the appointment. Not every provider will be a good fit for your recovery journey, and that's okay. A recovery oriented provider will listen without rushing, show genuine curiosity about your experience, be willing to learn about aspects of health they're less familiar with, and treat you as the expert on your own body. You'll feel the difference almost immediately. Instead of defensiveness or dismissal, you'll hear questions like, "Tell me more about how that's affecting you," or "What's been working for you so far?" When you find someone who approaches care this way, your medical appointments become a partnership rather than a power struggle. That makes everything from follow ups to treatment plans feel more manageable and more respectful. A provider's non judgmental tone can actually downregulate your stress response in real time. Mirror neuron systems in the brain pick up cues from their facial expressions, voice tone, and body language, signaling safety to your nervous system and allowing you to think more clearly. This is the heart of today's lesson. If your provider doesn't know about processed food addiction or doesn't take it seriously, it can affect every part of your care. So here's how to start that conversation without feeling confrontational. You might ask, have you heard of processed food addiction as a medical or research topic? If they say yes, ask what they know about it and whether they've worked with patients in recovery before. If they say no, don't panic. This isn't the end of the road. You can say, it's something I'm in recovery from, and it's had a huge impact on my health. Would you be open to learning a little bit about it so we can factor it into my care? That invitation matters. You're not demanding, you're inviting them into a partnership. If they're willing, you can share credible resources, including research summaries or simple educational handouts. In our community, we help members prepare these resources so you never have to walk into that appointment empty handed. When a provider understands food addiction, they can connect the dots between your recovery, your labs, your symptoms, and your treatment. That awareness can change the entire trajectory of your care, making it more effective, more personal, and more hopeful. Food addiction involves measurable changes in the brain's reward system, especially in dopamine signaling pathways in the striatum and prefrontal cortex. When a provider understands this, they stop framing recovery as a matter of willpower and start seeing it as a process of neurobiological repair. This changes the kind of recommendations they give, making them more supportive of relapse prevention and long-term habit stabilization. Of course, not every provider will respond positively. Some may brush off the idea, change the subject, or give advice that ignores your recovery needs. That's your signal to set boundaries. You might say, I understand that you may not share my perspective, but it's important for me to protect my recovery while we work on my health. If those boundaries aren't respected, it may be time to seek another opinion. You deserve a provider who will work with you, not against you, in protecting your health and your recovery. When your boundaries are crossed, your stress response system, HPA axis, can activate sharply, raising cortisol and adrenaline levels. Over time, repeated boundary violations in healthcare can condition your brain to anticipate threat in medical settings, making appointments more stressful than they need to be. Protecting those boundaries helps keep your nervous system calmer and more receptive to care. Before we wrap up, here are some questions to explore this week. First, how have I felt leaving past medical appointments? Empowered, dismissed, hopeful, frustrated? Those feelings can tell you a lot about what you need going forward. Second, what qualities do I most want in a provider? Knowing this ahead of time can help you recognize a good fit more quickly. Third, how would I start a conversation about food addiction with my provider? Even just rehearsing the words in your head can make it easier when the moment comes. And finally, where do I need to set clearer boundaries in healthcare? This might mean being more direct, asking for clarification, or even finding a new provider. Navigating the healthcare system can be challenging, but when you approach it with a recovery mindset, you shift from feeling powerless to feeling empowered. You are the most important voice in your healthcare. And when you find providers who listen, respect your recovery, and are open to learning, you create a team that can help you move forward toward remission and sustain it. Protect your dignity, protect your agency, and remember, you don't have to do this alone. We're here to help you prepare, find your words, and keep building the kind of support that makes healing possible. Thank you for listening.